Bluff City Media presents the Two Bucks Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up? Uncle Buck here. Surprise. It's the first ever edition of the One Buck Sports Show. Listen, it's Rusty's birthday, special occasion, and it was so special of an occasion that he decided to go out of town and not join me at all. But don't fret, I have something up my sleeve. My arms are short, but my sleeves are long, and I've got lots of things to put up them. So, today on the show, I've got two very special guests. We're going to talk about Rusty, and we're going to talk about the Tony Allen jersey retirement ceremony that Rusty and I attended on Saturday night at FedEx Forum. We're going to talk about the Grizzlies game last night against the Sacramento Kings, as well as the upcoming season with a second special guest. We're going to do Best in Beef with a special guest. And I'm not telling anybody who it is because I want it to be a total surprise. So, it's Tuesday. So, we start every single episode of the Two Buck Sports Show on Tuesdays with the same segment. It's our Best in Beef segment. And I've got a very special guest. I've known this person for a very long time. She's very near and dear to my co-host's heart, but not as much as she is near and dear to my heart. She's my dancing partner. She is coming right now. Mama Lee!
What's up, my friend?
I sure hope Rusty is watching this right now. First off, I love you so much, and thank you for doing this.
Hey, you're welcome anytime.
So, he's a smart man in many aspects, but he was very foolish to leave me on a show alone with the open airways on his birthday. And it's unlimited power that I'm wielding to the best of my abilities.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one, I think. He probably should have thought twice, right?
He should. That's his problem. He only thinks once.
That's true. I mean, me and you, we kind of think twice. He thinks once.
That's so true. So listen, I'm not going to keep you long. It's a Tuesday. I know it's the middle of everybody's day. So we do a segment on our show. It's called the Best in Beef of the Week. It's where we talk about our weekends. But today, for this special edition, I want you to give me the best thing about Rusty and the biggest beef you have with Rusty. Can you do that for me?
Well,
we won't try
sure.
to kill him, okay?
Oh yeah, let's don't do that because I do have to still see him, and there's days when I tell him and his brother, but I tell him, I said, this is a good thing I love you a lot because there's some days I don't like you a lot. But anyhow, I'd say the best thing about Rusty is his heart. I mean, he's got a huge heart. He just loves and loves, and I'm gonna say that's probably his best thing.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
When he's asleep, okay. He's probably gonna kill both me and you. You do know that, right?
We've had a good run, haven't we?
That's true. I say my biggest beef is he needs to. Let's see. Okay.
He needs to move closer to home, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's in Memphis, and that's closer than he was. Okay, but I just need to see him more often.
Yeah,
that's what I think. He just needs to. And I know he's busy, but anyhow.
So, hey, I love you. We need to go out soon. I'll ditch the kids.
Please.
I'll ditch my wife. We'll ditch Rusty. I tell people all the time. I was like, hey, listen, we don't even have to tell Rusty. Me and Mama Lee, we go back far enough. We can go have us bite to eat and go cut a rug sometime. We don't even have to tell him.
Hey, I'm in. You just let me know where and when, okay?
All right. Thank you for joining on. I hope you have a great day. I love you.
You too. I love you too.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
guest number 2.
Well, welcome to the $2 Sports Show with your host, Drew Gann, a.k.a. Uncle Buck, a.k.a. the man-sized minion, a.k.a. the Rosy Cheek Assassin.
The Rosy Cheek Assassin. That's a good one. If you were wondering, I was wondering if everybody was going to miss you in the comments, but no. Even when you're on the show, you're in the comments. So here we go. Special guest number 2, and maybe the last special guest of the show. We'll see what happens. Wayno, all the way from down under. It is 4 a.m. where you're at?
It's 4 a.m. Yeah, I just freaked my dog out. I just realized I didn't account for that.
Hey, you got a wife, you got 2 kids, but the dog is the one we're worried about. I can relate. I can totally relate to that. Wayno, thank you for coming on. I lit the bat signal last night. It was last night for me. It was early, I guess, middle of the day for you when he got the message.
Yeah, late afternoon. Yeah.
Rusty just texted me. He said, "Oh my God." So, I don't know what he's doing right now, but I can tell you right now he's terrified. So, I appreciate you joining me. Listen, I know a lot of you guys know Wayno from the comments, and I can promise you from seeing him in the comments, interacting with him on this show, and being in a group chat with him, all this dude does is watch basketball, particularly the Memphis Grizzlies. And occasionally we get a picture of his dogs. And so it is a special treat, and it's one of those things that I know it's our show, but I promise you I'm going to learn something today. So, but we're going to – it's your favorite segment of the week. I haven't given my best in beef yet. I know you've got one, I'm sure.
I do.
So we're gonna run it back one more time. Wayno, what's the best thing that happened to you this weekend?
Okay. I don't know if this has actually been done on the $2 show before, but my best and beef is one and the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So earlier in the week, my wife texted me. I think it was, what was the last game we lost before the Sacramento?
Cleveland?
The Cleveland game. In the middle of that Cleveland game, my wife texts me and she's like, "Hey, like, basically, like, we've been talking for a while. Like, I need to head to Memphis. I need to, come see you guys in person." And she's like, "Hey, there's like some really cheap flights to the US later in the year." Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, sweet. This sounds amazing. Yeah, okay, I like where this is going." Like, she's like, "Yeah, you should go. If your team makes the conference finals, you'll be there for the 4-game spread." And I was like, "Oh, babe, you're the best."
Right.
That's so good. And I was like, "Conference finals."
We just lost. She didn't know we had a loss coming to Sacramento just a few days later.
I was like, well, let's just wait and see how we go. Let's.
Yeah.
The thought was there. So my best this week is potential coming to Memphis this year, which is something I didn't really have on the cards. My beef is we got to make the conference finals for me to go.
What a catch-22. I've got. It sounds like me and my wife and your wife may have a lot in common because I'm a little bit more pragmatic and my wife is very impulsive and it's not for her own benefit, rarely ever. And so like back in 2022, my favorite college baseball team made the College World Series, and it was like touch and go whether work was going to let me off. I wouldn't been here long, and I got the green light like the day I needed to go, and she was like, "Go." And it's in Omaha, Nebraska. It's 14-hour drive, me and my dad, and we had a 2-month-old daughter. And she was just like, "Go. Don't think about it." She wasn't thinking about it. And so she was like, "Just go." And I was like, "Okay, we're off. We're gone." And so yeah, I appreciate my wife, and I'm sure so I understand why you appreciate your wife, just being willing. Like, I know, if you want to go see the Grizzlies play in late May, early June, your chances this year are very slim, but you're still allowed to go to Memphis, which is a thumbs up. So, my best of the weekend was really all last week. I spent the whole week in Florida with my family. It was a lot of fun. It's the one time that since we've been married, and especially since we've had young children, since our honeymoon, I guess, since we added the children, that I felt refreshed leaving a vacation, because this house, and we shared it with 3 families. There was 13 kids. There was 6 adults, and it was all in this house that was massive, and it was an amazing deal. It felt like a steal, honestly.
You're a brave man in life. Like that's too many people for me. That's too many.
But see, you kind of know what you're getting into when you have 4 kids of your own. Like, you sacrifice a lot of relaxation. Like, you know that on the front end. And so you do it for the kids. The kids are going to have fun. We're going to maybe have a few more hours than normal to relax. But this place had Xboxes. I'm telling you, there were large stretches of time where I didn't see kids. And so I and my wife actually got to relax. And so it was the best. The beef is obviously when you take off a week from work, you come back to an absolute war-torn situation.
It's like you get punished for going.
Yeah.
And all the work is just waiting for you when you come back.
And I'm a one-man department. I'm an electrical engineer for a small power company in small town Mississippi. There's only one of me. And so it's not like, he can pick up the slack. It's like, oh crap, when is he coming back? The deadline doesn't move despite the fact you want to leave for a week. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been dealing with the first 2 days. And so hey, it's only going to get better from here. So that's our best of beef segment of the week. We do that on Tuesdays. Thursday, we are going to have another episode, and it will be sans Rusty again. So in the comments, let me know if you think this show's better this week than in previous weeks. I will do nothing about it because Rusty and I are here to stay forever, but I will hold it over his head forever. So that's kind of my plan here. So that's our best of beef segment of the week. Now it's time to get to the topic at hand, and we're going to try to have some good aspects of our Grizzlies week.
What, are we talking the game or are we talking?
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Are we talking the game or are we going to talk the ceremony?
All right, we're going to go in order. We're going to hit the Cleveland game just briefly, just because it did happen since the last time we talked. The Grizzlies lose to a Cleveland team that shot fireballs all night. The Grizzlies didn't bring their A game outside of John Morant, who had a 44-point game wasted. And Cleveland just looked unbeatable. I feel like we could play them in a 7-game series, and we would lose. We would get swept, and we may get a gentleman's sweep at home. And if we played them 10 times in a row, they'd beat us 9.5 times. That team was just daunting, absolutely daunting.
Yeah. Well, look, first, before we jump into it, whenever I'm talking about the Grizzlies after losses, I think I should change my uniform. So let me just change the uniform here. Oh, that's much better. That's much better.
This is how the Grizzlies are actually playing right now. Sideways.
I don't know, like, what people expected. I don't know, like, sometimes, and being a fan too, like, sometimes you follow the team with your heart on your sleeve. And I never went into that game thinking we're going to win it. Like, there's a reason they're the best team in the league, like, in my opinion. And we are just playing at a different end of the spectrum to Cleveland. I mean, everything from their coaching, the unselfishness of the roster. Guys know their role. The guys coming off the bench know their role. I mean, and then they add a guy who I would have loved to see. We talk about trades all the time in the comments for this Grizzlies team, but man, I wanted Hunter on this team. I thought, you want to compliment guys and guys who are consistent and can perform. And they showed why. I mean, no Donovan Mitchell. They showed why they're a powerhouse.
Right. It was, you kind of hoped as a fan you get to the point before every game or before every season or whatever, you get to the point to where you're kind of talking yourself into the reasons why this could work. And going into that Cleveland game is like, okay, it's been a brutal stretch, but if this team is who we think they could be, this would be the time to really flex your muscles. You had a competitive game in Cleveland that ended up being a 10 or 12 point game or whatever it was late. But then, now you got them at home. But in the second quarter, they just got cracking. I feel like they didn't miss any open shots.
Yeah.
And it kind of, for me, it felt like a blueprint of what the Grizzlies try to do. It's unselfish basketball.
Yeah.
Your role players are consistent. They know their roles. There's not change up, constant chaos, and everybody just knows their role and they excel at it and they accept it.
Yeah.
And to see that, going into it thinking that that's a team that the Grizzlies want to be like, and to see that we're that far off, was really depressing.
Well, it's the fulfillment of potential, really. When
Right.
you look at that squad, it's a culmination of everything coming together and everyone working together, and like it's what we have strived to be all year. But you can't be that if guys are sitting out. You can't be that if you have. I mean, one of the things I keep noticing the last, I suppose 3 or 4 games now, especially in that, the Sacramento game, which we're going to talk about soon, is just the body language of our coaching staff. Like that Sacramento game, those assistant coaches were up and they were vocal and they were like directing players and, not in a negative way. Like the players were, responding and absorbing and taking all that in. And we don't have that. We have Jenkins who, he doesn't like to sit down, but, with his arms crossed and
yeah,
the assistant coach is just sitting on the bench looking like, I don't know what they're waiting for. Like, I mean, yes, you can't ask for, some of this onus is on the players and them being professionals and being ready to play. But some of that is also on the coaching staff to make sure those guys are clicking, are going.
Yeah, I do think that there's enough blame to go around. And that's really where I fall into like being pinned as the Taylor Jenkins apologist, is that I try to blame everybody. And in games like Cleveland, you just got beat. And in games like we'll get to, or in the past, I think what game was it that me and Rusty fought over really hard? But what we lost that game because we made 4 3-pointers in the game and none in the second half. And I think that the most logical reason for wanting to fire Taylor Jenkins right now that I can make, I know there's lots of haters, and I'm not saying that there's not a legitimate reason to fire him. Going into the season, I said that it was going to be a playoff-based result, whether you fire him or not. If you don't make it the second round, he's out. That's where I stood. That's where I still stand. But if there's one legitimate reason to fire Taylor Jenkins, you saw it in Cleveland. They just needed a new voice in that locker room. JB Bickerstaff wasn't getting hurt anymore, and they moved on to Kenny Atkinson, and Kenny Atkinson was just a new voice, and it took them even further. And then JB Bickerstaff went to Detroit, and he's doing an amazing job in Detroit. It worked best for all parties just to have another voice. And so if somebody wants to make that argument, that's an argument that I'll listen to, and I'm really close to just buying. Like, the team just needs a new voice.
Yeah, look, I want the dream. I'm a romantic at heart. I want the dream. I want Taylor Jenkins to coach this team all the way through to the chip. I want to see, a championship banner in the stadium. I want all the guys in this roster to win a ring. But reality is that is just a dream. And eventually, history has shown, generally, the coaches that are developing these young stars, they do need a kick in the bum sometimes. They do need almost that silent threat of, oh shit, yeah, this is a business. Do you know what I mean? If you do not perform, I mean, A, generally it's your coach is going to go first, and then B, your best mate beside you in the locker room is probably getting traded and on his way out. So I think at least I think from the fans' point of view, I think we've seen enough. We all appreciate what Jenkins has done as far as developing these young players. I've said in the chat before, I have no problem if he goes to up to the head office. That makes sense to me, whether there's room there or not. But it does feel like, I don't know if he's lost the players, if that's the reasoning, but there's definitely a lot of questionable stuff going on as far as our performance. And this is a performance-based league.
It's almost like, I think players, coaches, you've kind of got to a player's coach is a type of coach in which the players like, and that Steve Kerr is one of those guys. He's the ultimate players coach. He gives the players lots of slack, and then you expect your players to pick up that slack and go forward in the direction of a team environment that leads to success. And then you've got the other side of that coin, which are guys like Tom Thibodeau, the hard nose, and there's a lot of gaps in between there. But and I don't know if both of them in different in not ideal scenarios for their coaching style will crumble. Yeah. And it seems like I don't want to say that John Morant needs somebody to kick him in the tail, because as a superstar making so much money, I feel like that should come with its own incentives of playing hard, playing a lot, and giving it your best. But if John Morant needs the kind of coach that's going to kick him in the tail, then that's the kind of coach you just got to bring in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll talk Tony Allen at the end, because let's end on a fun note. I've got a good buddy from the comments in here. A good friend that started in the comments. Now he's a friend outside the comments. He's in here. So we're going to end this show happily and not angry like me and Rusty leave it sometimes. But before we do that, got another treat for our boy Buckets.
Hello and welcome. Good morning to the Two Bucks Show. You might recognize this mic and the Grizz face in the background. Also this stellar bookshelf without books on it. And the awesome ring light. Don't know what that's for. But besides the point, happy birthday. I hope you're having a great trip. Hope you're drinking lots.
All right. That is Rusty's roommate Craig. I told Wayno, again, this episode, because Rusty's not here and I have free reign to do whatever I want to with hundreds of people that are watching, I'm going to use it I'm going to wield this power irresponsibly.
Abuse it.
So that's Rusty's roommate. I told him to go break something and put it on camera. But he was a lot nicer than I was going to be. So thank you for Craig. Thank you to Craig for doing that for us. We're going to talk about last night's game, a loss on the road, late game against the Sacramento Kings. If there's one thing that's worse for us Central Time Zone Americans, it's staying up for a game that starts at 9 o'clock, only to watch us lose at midnight. And so listen, there's one big story about this game. I'll save it. I'll save it.
Take your lap of honor, sir. Take your lap of honor. What are you talking about? This is yours too.
Listen. If there was a funnier way, the only way that game last night could have been more funny was if somehow Jake LaRavia hit a buzzer beater, because the dude apparently, and this happens for players that get traded, there was only one team he was looking forward to playing on the second half of this season, and that was Memphis. And he got them in Sacramento, where the crowd was 100% behind him. And the dude he was the best example of Jake LaRavia last night against the Grizzlies.
Look, for all Jake's flaws in a Grizzly uniform, and, I feel like the franchise, did best by him and developed him and stuck by him when, people were calling for him to be off this squad. And
for 2 years, he was hurt,
Yeah, and look, the one thing I'll never question with Jake is the effort. Right. Do you know what I mean? Regardless if it's the right play or wrong play at the time, he's always going to give you, he's bull in a china shop. He's going to give you 100% all the time. And that's exactly what we saw. So, the motivation was there. You can't tell me, Big JV wasn't, probably in his ear, excited to get up for this game as well. Malik Monk just eats us. He just eats us alive every time we play.
Mount Rushmore of Grizz killers.
He rubs his hands like, Memphis, they're not going to defend the three. Woo! This Sacramento game, it's funny because I was watching the game and I was just like, you know what? As far as Memphis this year, Sacramento to me is our peak. This is the team we could be this year. So for me, it was a good, let's see where we're at. But again, I just get so tired. We're what 13, 14 games left in the season,
13.
and it's like guys are sitting out. What are we resting for? We're not going to turn it on come playoffs. There's no magic switch. Yes, we're going to be a different team with, Jar on the floor, but like, what are we doing here?
I feel like a broken record, but it's so obvious to me when people like want to get mad at losses in which Ja Morant doesn't play. Like, there is no more important person to their team, or maybe two people in the league, maybe more important to their team, maybe Brunson, than Ja Morant is to the Grizzlies. You've seen it 3 times now where a 40-point game, there's been 3 times in the last 5 or 6 games, one of the big 3 has gone for over 40 points and they've lost.
Yeah.
And the Grizzlies have lost. Last night, Desmond Bane goes for 44, and really you weren't even competitive. You got on runs to get it to 6 or 7, but once again, you expend all your energy to get it to 6 or 7 that you give up a 6 or 7 point run, and then the game's over. It was it was bad. It's bad defensively. Ja, listen, to get back to Ja just for a second, like, if he's getting hurt in practice, quit practicing. Like, I saw somebody today like the only thing the Grizz practice is hurting Ja, and I don't know if it's a cop out. I don't know what it is, but it's just sad, man. I don't know how you can keep him on the floor at this point. He has no reason to come back onto the court. I mean, there's no All NBA, no, most improved, no MVP, nothing like that can be achieved at this point with as many games he's left. So I don't really know what you do, but I thought playing was good enough, to ramp you forward towards the playoffs, but that's not it. But hey, we got another special shout out.
Happy birthday to our favorite family member.
Is it Jim's?
Is it Clint's? Margie's?
What about Mary's?
Shelby's?
Shelby doesn't even like people.
No, it's Uncle Rusty's birthday.
Who said he was the favorite?
Happy birthday, I guess.
And another special guest from the Witten household, Rusty's 3 nephews, letting us all know that he is not their favorite.
Well, look, that Sacramento game could have been worse. We could have had Tracy Morgan sitting courtside.
Oh, my goodness. I felt like that was most of us at our house would have rather have been Tracy Morgan courtside at the Knicks game than watching that that Kings game.
I'm going to say that Sacramento crowd was into it too. It felt like, They're like playoffs.
So good. That crowd is so good.
And it's like that team, that crowd, like they're ready for it. If playoffs started tomorrow, that team is ready to go. And like, where are we? Like, we could really talk about, this game, but like,
what you got? Big picture.
Yeah, well, it's kind of that thing, right? It's like where we are as a franchise, and at some point as a fan, you've really just got to go, you know what? We are the team we are right now. Like, nothing's changing. There's no trade deadline ahead. We're not signing anyone. Like, okay, rotations may tighten, but like, as a Grizz fan, sometimes you just got to grit and bear it until the playoffs come. Unfortunately, there's like, double-digit game left in the season. And, I think it's going to be funny looking back on this year. I just sort of think like we have so many carryover problems from last year, and I'm not even sure that we addressed any of them. First would be health, obviously.
Right.
Guys are still sitting out. What's the one thing for you do you think that really killed you last year watching this squad? What's the one thing we really lacked and we tried to address sort of mid through the year with the signing?
Rebounding?
Rebounding. Yes. Rebounding, sir. And we haven't addressed that at all. I mean, there's nights where Bain is our best rebounder by far. I mean, and the other thing is like consistency and a vet presence on this squad. We don't have that. If you look at the roster, look at our development players. GG Jackson, Vince Williams Jr. I don't care what anyone says. He is a development player still.
Yes.
Jay Huff. Let's throw Marvin Bagley the third in there. Even Lamar Stevens. Even though as much as he gives you, like he's bounced around, he is still a development player. I mean, I would love to see him, obviously longer, but, Scottie Pippen Jr. even, who has strung together some really good games recently. But it's like you throw in those, development players, plus what are we doing this season? We're relying on rookies for consistency. Yeah. Rookies are going to do rookie things. Edie, Wells, Cam, they've all had their highs and lows through the year, and I've been trying to find the quote or the presser or whatever it was that was, we referenced it throughout the season. It's like this, the Grizzlies are win now. We're in win now mode. I can't find it, but for me, that's the biggest thing. Looking back, like as far as like Zach Kleiman and. It's such a contradictory season for that statement. Do you know what I mean? Like we've done everything but win now. Like,
right.
So,
he made the comment, and I'm trying to remember. I think it was after we lost the playoff series against the Lakers in round one. I believe is when it was. And is that they made a mistake doubling down on youth. And here we are 2 years later, starting two rookies. Now, Jalen Wells has been really good at times, but he's a rookie. You've just kind of have to learn to be a professional to be able to do it for 82 games. Zach Edey, he toggles back and forth between a train wreck and somewhat useful rebounder. Although I have been encouraged lately with his play. I think he is improving, but it's just not a team that's built to win. And at the trade deadline, I feel like the Grizzlies fans should have seen the writing on the wall. And I feel like the team did see it. Is we called ourselves contenders. We bragged about our offensive scheme, our points per game.
Deepest team in the league.
We were the 2 seed in the West for the 3rd out of 4 years. That's what we were talking about. And at the trade deadline, we were like, we're contenders. We're just a piece away. And what the front office told us is that we're not contenders. We're going to learn we're going to take another year to learn and develop, and then we'll be contenders in 1, 2, or 3 years.
Yeah.
That's what we were told, because what they did at the trade deadline was once again double down on youth.
Yeah.
They got rid of NBA Finals player Marcus Smart, whether you liked him or not. NBA Finals every single year, Eastern Conference Finals every single year, a winner. And then you got rid of guys like Jake LaRavia, who's in a 3rd year of a system, doesn't do a lot of things great, but does a lot of things good and has momentary lapses. And you got rid of those guys so that you could make room for Vince Williams Jr. So you can make room for GG Jackson. So you can make more room for, Luke Kennard. Make more room for Jalen Wells. And what we got out of that was sending off Smart, sending off LaRavia, and then taking GG Jackson and sending him to South Haven because he can't figure it out. And Vince Williams Jr. is a mess.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And so you're just kind of left with, well, we thought we were going to boost GG, but now we're getting a lot of Cam Spencer minutes. We're getting John Conchar minutes. We're having to go even deeper than we were before because the guys that we didn't, the veteran-ish players, it's really hard to put LaRavia and Smart in the same category, but I'm trying to do it to make a point. but you sent out those guys who played roles that you didn't like, fans didn't like, and you were good with it at the time. But the trade-off has been the guys that you wanted to be good also stink worse than the guys you sent off. So now you're bringing up even more further down the path, you know?
And I mean, that's why, like, I don't get too high or low on, like, I suppose when I'm in the comments and stuff like that, you know, really try, because, like, win now, like, what does that mean to you? Everyone has their own interpretation of that. Like, I'm not wearing my Santi jersey. Okay.
Not too high, not too low, Wayno. Remember that.
Yeah, sorry.
Said it.
You know, like, it's really like, what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, win now. Like, for me, win now means, okay, we're going all in this season. You know, is there win now? Is that 2 years? Is that 3 years? Because it's like, if that comment is not made, then I think fans, you know, are kind of a bit more relaxed about it, you know, but you've shown nothing to sort of push us towards win now this season, you know, because you say win now. Well, that's what we expect, you know, that's what we're looking at. But so I do feel like there's a little bit, not on the fans, because we're perfect, but, you know, like interpretation of what that does mean. But again, like, you can't be serious about win now if you're relying on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 development players and 3 rookies, and hoping that your core guys, you know, who aren't going to be on for, you know, obviously the show us, they're not going to be on for 40 minutes a game. Do you know what I mean? Like, there hits a stage where you need vets that are consistent, that can come in and give you, so you know what you're getting night after night. You may not know what you're going to get from Bane. You may not know what you're going to get from, you know, Triple J or even Jar. But you know, you put those vets on there, you know, the guys that are proven in this league, the guys who are going to show up to work every day. I mean, you need those guys. You need a good two seasoned vets to help you get across the line, because it's a long 82 game season. Things happen, and you need guys to keep everyone in check and keep. I suppose the biggest thing where's the accountability on? You know, from the player to player, right? Because, you know, I went back and watched some of my previous work on the $2 show about 6 months ago, and, you know, I still kind of stand on everything that I, you know, that blurted out of my mouth. You know, it's like, we need accountability. We're not ready to win now. You know, I would love to be proved wrong this season. And yes, anything can happen come playoffs. But
I think if you're banking on a resurrection in the playoffs,
it's not happening.
Like what the Lakers do. Like, you need to have players that have done it before. Like, we still haven't done it before. And I think I don't remember anybody saying the term win now. I hate that term, because that implies you're pushing in all your chips. And the Grizzlies were never doing that. They were never sacrificing 5 years for 1 year.
I mean, I guess I think that's maybe why I can't find it, but it's just been in rotation,
it's
like, know, in the comment section amongst fans. And I'm like, where did this quote come from? Because I can't find it. I'm not saying that, you know, it hasn't been alluded to, you know, but
it's putting the pieces together a little bit. Like, you blamed last season on injuries. Previous to that, you were the 2 seed twice with a young team. This year, you're coming in the season healthy and you're more experienced. That implies that the Grizzlies should make a run. You should be competitive. That's all I wanted. Like, a second round exit for me this year would have never been bad. You know, you get some certain matchups and your expectations change, but into the season, a second round exit wouldn't have been mad for me, but it felt like I can't remember seeing a team punt on a season at the trade deadline, and I feel like that was the messaging that was given to us. And
I mean, it was the promise of everyone, you know, becoming healthy as well, and, like, you know, we've seen everyone back healthy, and we still look like,
and that's another problem that I can't put squarely on Taylor Jenkins, just because now it is a Taylor Jenkins problem. If you can't get the most out of your players, that is a coaching problem. But I think my philosophy is a little different when the player is making 10 times what the coach makes and has the power to sit or play regardless of what the coach says,
Yeah. I just can't wrap my head around this also. Like, shout out to Daily Grind and Luke, and Kenny was on the other day as well. Big old Minecraft Kenny with his blockhead. Love him to bits. You're the best, Kenny. No, I'm just ribbing him. I said on the last show in the comments, it's like, surely Jenkins can't be happy with this and this season. Like, not as far as like how it's been run. He's had his coaching staff uprooted. He's had his vets all traded away. We were a second seed. Like, I keep looking at this and go, man, we have tried to reinvent the wheel. We've tried to fix something that isn't broken. We're a second seed defensive team, and we've traded that this season for a Phoenix Suns 7 seconds or less run and gun. Like, you might as well bring a wheel out Mike D'Antoni. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? Like, and it's like, I just can't. I mean, Jenkins rotations are something that's, at our peak with this squad, this core has been questioned. But I just find it hard to, like, he surely behind closed doors can't be like happy with this offense, because, the question I pose to you, the question I pose to everyone I speak to who's a Mad Grizzlies fan is like, what does year 2 of this new offense look like? And most people, most hosts, most analysts, most couch potato GMs, they don't want a bar of this next season.
Yeah. Hey, well, I want to get into that a little bit more, because that leads me up to some thoughts that I've had as well. Some kind of things I've been brainstorming but kept inside. So let it out
hairy chest.
But we've got another surprise first.
Hey Uncle Buckets, happy birthday. I think your life would be a lot better if you were good at fantasy football and cheered for Ole Miss.
That's my boy.
Ruthless. Who was that?
That was my boy. I may have told him, helped him out with the script.
He just got 10% less next present with that comment.
Yeah, I know. Listen, Rusty will definitely hold it against him. Hopefully not me. So, all right. So looking back, hindsight's always 2020. And what you said, I put a lot of stock into, like, it wasn't broken, and yet we tried to fix it. And Taylor Jenkins fired his whole his whole coaching staff, basically let them all go, brought in this guy, and I don't know who makes the coaching hires.
Is that a Jenkins call, or is that essentially what you're going to get through the media is, it's a joint decision, right? Like, that's what they're going to tell you. But like, behind closed doors, it's either one or the other. It's either Jenkins going to them going, hey, like, we need to just throw this out the window. It's not working. Or
the way that I interpret this is that a head coach is over his staff. Like, in the decision tree, in the org chart here, it's GM, coach, and then a staff reports to the coach. The coach hires his staff. If I'm wrong, you can nix what I say, but that's what I think. And so the Grizzlies, who have always struggled in half-court offense, don't hit a lot of threes. You've had all these nicks against you offensively in the past, but you've always played pretty good defense. And so I think that Taylor Jenkins got rid of his whole staff and decided, I'm going to do something innovative offensively. I'm going to go get this guy from Paris, and I'm going to build a staff around him, and we're going to change our offensive mindset, and with trying to get a lot of easier baskets. And hopefully that helps in the half-court offense as well. That's what I think happened.
Sure.
The problem under this theory is then Zach Kleiman selected Zach Edey. And from the time that we drafted Zach Edey, because of this new offense that they're talking about, I was like, this ain't going to work. He can't spread the floor. He's going to be in the way.
Well,
yes, hopefully he can rebound. Yes, hopefully he can set screens. But
for his rookie year, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
I am not out on Edey long term because
I'm not. I am if they go back to this offense that they're going to run. They've kind of went away from it.
It's that thing though.
We kept wanting to call him Steven Adams. This is Steven Adams' role, but they scrapped that offense altogether.
Yeah.
And so, but my point I'm making is it seems like that could have been the first time where it was like Kleiman and Jenkins are off. Like their outlook on what this team looks like is off.
Yeah.
Is this offense, and then we drafted Zach Edey.
Yeah, because Edey is not a win now decision.
No.
Again, go back to the philosophy. And anyone who thinks I'm hating on Edey, please go back 6 months, find the $2 Sports Show. I talk about like the Edey blueprint, and and I was really looking forward to Edey this year. And I still like. It's just that rookies are going to do rookie things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're going to look fantastic.
You don't on them.
Yeah, like
him, and knowing the most important position you needed to fill in the offseason was center.
Yeah, 100%. Again, like rebounding, consistency. That was one of the biggest things we needed from last season to this one. And we didn't address it. We drafted a rookie. We drafted I love our rookies this year. In the spectrum of like, if we're looking down the road 3 years from now, like they look fantastic. And Wells is just, I've said it, in the comment section 100 times, like Wells is going to, like once he puts on his NBA body and he's 3 seasons deep, he's going to be amazing for us.
Yeah. But to answer the question, this is where we started is this is the question I want to talk about, because I am a Kleiman guy. I think in a small market, you have to nail the draft. It's the most important thing you can do as a general manager is to nail the draft, because you're not going to get a lot of free agents, especially the marquee ones, the number 4s. You all want to go to a coast, or Chicago. Memphis has not ever been a destination for a free agent. And so you've got to nail it through the draft. And he has done a really good job in the draft, minus one season where you won a draft where you took David Roddy and Zaire Williams. And that didn't work out, but you're allowed to miss some. But it's what you do with the other players. I look back, and just as a fan, and I'm not a cap sheet specialist, I'm not Bobby Marks, I don't understand this, but seems like you let more good players go out the door than what you bring in. And you let D'Anthony Melton, you let Kyle Anderson, you let name them. It seems like everybody that we've left have been fan favorites, Yeah. And you replace them with Jake LaRavia. You replace them with Marcus Smart, and you immediately pull
more development players,
Right.
And
it's just doubling down on youth, and it's the mixed messaging that we got, and it was really solidified last night for me, being the Jake LaRavia supporter here. Fans too strong, but supporter. You salary dumped him. You gave him away for nothing, and he twists the knife even further last night.
Look, I really appreciate you covering up your Jake tattoo today for me being on.
It's another good example, King Mick.
Exactly. Well, fair. That's fair. I don't know. I just feel like I'm not even mad at if there's the whole rumors of the last minute ditch for a Kevin Durant or Jimmy Butler, because it's like it only takes one yes to change everything,
right?
To bring in one of those guys, and I would have loved Jimmy Butler on this team. I'm a massive Jimmy Butler fan. He's crazy, and you've got to pay him for him to be happy, and fair enough. But even on a 1 year rental, if we are serious, win now, I'm happy with a 1 year rental of Jimmy Butler, because we've seen in the past
you get a shot at it. This team wasn't good enough.
Past, players get traded. They don't really want to go. Look at Chris Webber in Sacramento.
Yeah.
More recently, look at Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland.
Right.
So it can turn the other way for you. Worst case, he was coming off the books.
Yeah. And another thing that I have thought about, and I thought about it again last night when watching the Kings, was a player's coach. A coach-player relationship is important too. And De'Aaron Fox came out and said that the reason he asked for a trade is because they fired Mike Brown. So
I don't know how much I believe that.
I don't either. But if it's said in the media, it's got to be true, okay? So sorry, I timed that up just right. We're gonna give Wayno a minute, okay? And we're gonna do one last birthday shout out.
Today I'm gonna get two bubbles.
I'm not gonna lie, I put that one in for my own self gratification. I'm proud of that one. So,
what a cutie!
Yeah, she's cute. She looks like a mama. All right, that's enough down in the dumps. I think what we can leave this with is that we can all find someone to place the majority of the blame on, and I don't think any of us are 100% wrong. Is that fair?
I think everyone shares responsibility in this year, from the head office to the coaching staff to the players.
And if Rusty wants to put 75% on Taylor Jenkins, fine.
I mean, he's going to. He's going to.
I'm going to choose to put, 50% of it always on the players. Like, I think players decide games. But Taylor Jenkins has blame as well, and Zach Kleiman has blame as well. There's enough. However your pie chart looks out of the 100%, that's totally your call.
You know what we should do?
You're not. Nobody's wrong unless they say that there's only one thing wrong with this team.
We should get Rusty a Jenkins thinking cap, like a little Jenkins head logo on there, and he'd love that.
It does make me so mad when I see him on the sideline just arm crossed with his Waffle House menu. It does make me irately mad. All right, we're going to end this on a happier note by going backwards to Saturday night. Rusty and I and our significant others descended upon Memphis, Tennessee, to the FedEx Forum to watch the Grizzlies play a game against somebody that was the most boring game that I can't remember who we played. It was the Miami Heat. It was the worst basketball, most vanilla, awful basketball game I've ever seen in my boring.
They are a team in serious trouble. Like,
I stood in line. I waited in line for like 30 minutes for popcorn, and I would never do that if I was halfway interested in what this game was the outcome was going to be. Like, we went up by 15 in the first quarter, and it like stayed at 15 the whole game. Like, never went up, never went down. It just simulated.
Yeah.
So
that was a tough rewatch for me. That was a tough, like,
you couldn't pay me to rewatch that, but I will.
I watched the highlights and was like, after I rewatched the game, I was like, I could have just stayed with the highlights on this one.
Yeah. I'm surprised there weren't any. I think Jaren had a good game, had a good dunk, I think. BC had a good dunk, I think. In a game, I'm not rewatching that. But what I will rewatch is after the game was over, it seems like we've been waiting on it for 2.5 or 3 years. We got to watch the number 9 go into the rafters, got to honor Tony Allen in the longest jersey retirement ceremony that the Grizzlies have ever put on. Man. But what did you expect? You handed Tony Allen a microphone. He riffed for like 35 minutes. It was not too long at all. I don't want to hear anybody say that he rambled too much. He should have kept it shorter. That was Tony Allen. It was an amazing ceremony. You watched it in Australia. What 2 things are you still thinking about to this day?
I think like walking away from it, and off the back end of watching the doco as well, it really kind of felt like the two went hand in hand. Go fund me. I suppose my 2 things is he really does epitomize the phrase of hard work pays off.
Yeah.
And that blue collar, hardworking, like it's something that like I resonate with. I'm sure everyone from Memphis resonates with. And for me, like, it's just like he is a Memphian. Do you know what I mean? Like and like he has everyone's hearts. And I suppose, not to go down a spiral, but watching the ceremony and then like reliving and like acknowledging what Tony's all about, it's everything we're missing from this season's squad. And that's the heartbreaker for it. And like, no matter what game we played after, like there's for the fans, like there's always going to be that sitting there. It's like, man, like we just watched a guy who is like, I suppose just one more thing, like seeing Tony now and seeing him bloom now is like really inspiring. Like after his basketball, after all the success and him even holding himself accountable, during the doco for,
the health insurance.
Yeah, of course. Right. But like even him saying, like that's on me. That was like the worst decision in my life. He regrets it. And how much he's grown from that. Like that's the stuff I took away from it. I was like, man, this guy has really, after his career in basketball, really continued to bloom.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. It's kind of hard not to look at the parallels and the dichotomy between the two eras of Grizzlies, being the grit and grind and this next gen, or the gang, as I've seen some people call it, the Grizz after next gen that we're in now.
Yeah,
and it just makes me appreciate Tony Allen that much more. And I love the person that Tony Allen is now almost as much as I loved him then, because I love the basketball player. I love the tenacity which he plays with. But Tony Allen, the personality, listen, he is made for being behind a microphone. Like that dude is electric. He is an absolute electric factory.
He's a natural entertainer, man. Like
he is.
You're zoned in on him. I also think like, it's a good reminder to. It means so much because you can't bring it back, and in saying that, like, I really try my hardest not to put grit and grind era on the new generation of players because they're not the same. And
it's a new generation of league as well.
They need to find their own identity and become their own thing, their own beast, So, but TA was amazing, and I said in the Daily Grind episode when you guys were talking about, it's like. I really, really loved, and I'm sure it was like appreciated of him just giving everyone his flowers, and especially like before he was doing that, and he really shouted out Rudy Gay,
right?
Because I feel like there was a real sour, like it's that whole the dangerous word I talk about, potential. It could go either way, and the expectation on Rudy Gay, he was the wing that we are still struggling to replace, and. He did a lot for Memphis as well before he got traded, and I thought it was great that he got his flowers as well.
That was a little bit before my time. I've only heard a lot about Rudy Gay, and I saw a little bit, but I wasn't as invested as I am today. So it was much more of on the periphery or NBA as a whole at the time, more so than just zeroing in on the Grizzlies like I am now. But it's one of those things like the Grizzlies did get better after they traded him, and for somebody that. If you think about it as a fan, like, okay, well, that must mean that Rudy Gay is not that good. But then Rudy Gay as the person, as the player for the Grizzlies, who did try his hardest for so many years and then did get traded, and then to see that the Grizzlies did better without him, Rudy Gay, the person, had to have internalized that and really had trouble accepting it. Like, they just got better without me. Like, but I gave everything. And so to see him have that moment, and for people who do look back on Rudy Gay and think like, whatever, who cares? Like, he had that moment and everybody rallied behind him. And I don't think it could have happened better than for it to come out of Tony Allen's mouth.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, like, we talk about grit and grind and what it means to the city and everything. Like, look no further than the cast that put their hand up to come out and appreciate TA. Everyone from, one of my, heroes when he was playing, not so much after he said some wild stuff, but Paul Pierce. I mean, I love Paul Pierce's game. I love Paul Pierce's game. He says some crazy shit though since then.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
But he was him. There were two moments for me. It was TA talking to Paul Pierce, and TA talking about his mom that got me that made me well up. Like there were no tears streaming, but I got choked up a little bit listening to Tony Allen thank Paul Pierce for just trying his hardest against a rookie in practice, and then him talking about his mom.
For anyone who watches the Paul Pierce Kevin Garnett show, like, you know, he talked about, like, they brought up Tony at the end of their last show, and Pierce was like, yeah, like I'm gonna make time, I'm gonna go out for that, I'm gonna go see Tony, like. And I was kind of like in the back of my head, like, are you though? You're just saying that. But he did talk about like TA having to defend both him and Ray Allen, you know, through many, many practices. And I'm like, man, like, what a building block.
Yeah. And I think this is here's a comment for King Meeks. I starred here. Nobody knows what that means. But I want to come back to it, and I feel like this is the best time to come back to it.
Sure.
King Meeks says, to me, when you think of Allen, you think of Memphis. Even though he has a ring with the Celtics, you always think of Memphis. And for guys like Paul Pierce and KG and Ray Allen, all those folks that he played with, and Rondo, who he credits, I mean, that's the reason why he wore 9 for the Grizzlies, is to pay homage to Rondo, who he played with in Boston. But he won a title in Boston. He learned invaluable lessons in how to defend, and his game changed in Boston. But what he built in Memphis was worth more to me than I would think Tony Allen said what he built in Memphis is worth more than what he achieved in Boston.
Yeah, I agree. I love that mentality though of, you know, him. I'm like really glad he got that title in Boston though.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's set the building block of he knows what it takes to win it. You know, and then coming to this team and like applying that to the guys, and, you know, pushing Zebo to play defense, and, you know, the guys all feeding off each other, you know, like it just, I mean, like it's, yeah, again, it's such a like special place for Memphis fans, and like you can't recreate it, but man, I just love going back and watching and going, man, what a time. Like it was buzzing.
Yeah. So, well, that's our Grizzlies talk for today. I got one more thing I want to talk about. I want to pitch it. It is March. Wayno, I don't know if you're a college basketball guy, but in the United States, there is no better time of year than March Madness, and because you all get to fill out your bracket. And every year the $2 do a bracket league. This will be open for anybody who wants to join. You can submit your bracket in. I'm going to put this up now so you can. I made a QR code. Getting tech savvy. I'm learning how to do things when Rusty's gone. $2 show March Madness challenge. Scan this QR code. If you're watching on your phone, screenshot the screen and then go to your photos, and then you can click on the QR code from your photos, and you can fill out your bracket. It'll put it in our league, and the winner of this league will get a shirt. And we're going to up the ante a little bit because still 3 years into it, nobody has ever claimed to be the winner. So I don't know. It's those generic. It's always the generic name. Like they don't change their username, and so we don't know who it is. Nobody ever claims it, but they win it, and they don't claim it. So we're going to give a T-shirt to whoever wins it. We'll also give you 15 minutes on the show. Come talk about whatever propaganda you got. You'll get a short segment. If you come on here with anything totally blasphemous, then we'll kick you off. It's still our show, but you get 15 minutes of PG-13 talk with the $2 if you win our bracket challenge. Okay, so scan the QR code, take a screenshot of this if you're watching on your phone. Get in there. We had, I think, 30 or 40 in here last year. We want to get a lot more in there this year. Best time of the year. We're going into the best weekend of the year, which is the first 2 rounds of March Madness. All of the local teams are in it. Arkansas, Memphis, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Alabama, Auburn. Everybody's in it. You have no reason not to try it out this year if you haven't done it before. So scan the link, scan the QR code here, get into our bracket. You can have a T-shirt and 15 minutes live with the $2. So I don't know what else I can do to get you to come in. Wayno may even be in it.
Reel him in. Reel him in.
So, Wayno, I want to thank you for hopping on. I want to thank Mama Lee for coming and joining us on the show. I did that because I love her. She's a second mother to me, and because I wanted just to the most shock value possible for Rusty, since he let us have this show on his birthday uninterrupted. So hopefully it worked. We'll hear from him later. So Wayno, thank you for joining in. We will be back on Tuesday for another edition of the $2 Sports Show. We'll have our real versus counterfeit segment, and we'll see you then. Thanks for joining me, Wayno.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.